Well, hey there, this is Coach Linda, and I am on the phone with Julie Greco, who's a rehabber over in New London County, and she and her business partner have started marketing to probate deals and has had some great success. And she wanted to share with all of you, coaching students, some shortcuts to discover how to find these types of deals. So, Julie, go ahead.
Hey, CT Ria, nice to be hanging out with you again. Okay, so my business partner and I understood there was an overview on how to do this probate analysis. And it took some time to figure it out, and the reason why we're doing it is to kind of shortcut the process that we went through. So the first thing you want to do to get to the probate court is to type in ctprobate.gov. That's CT stands for Connecticut, then probate.gov. And there's another way to do that, but with a few extra steps. So this is the shortcut. Once you get onto this page, you want to hit case lookup. When you get to case lookup, the next thing you want to do, and I'm just going to bring up my notes just to make sure I don't mislead you, is to do the case type, which is down here. And you're going to click on Decedent's Estate. Then the drop-down menu under District will be whatever district that you want to find. So in our case, we go down to what's called PB 31. And you'll notice these numbers. So each number is associated with the town that the probate court is listed in. And in our case, it's New London. And we've done other towns too, but we're just going to work with New London probate. So all the files are going to start with a 31, and that tells us that belongs to New London. Then the easiest way to do this is not, since you don't know anyone's last name, the whole point is to find out who they are. Start with the letter A. And what will happen is all the A's will come up for that probate court. I'm going to tell it to open any open cases, okay? I don't want both closed and open because if it's closed, obviously they've sold the property. So then we're going to hit search. And this should come up momentarily. There it is. And there's a listing of all the A's, right? So these case numbers are important because those are the ones you're going to bring to the courthouse to discover if they own property and if there's a fiduciary, which in most cases, actually in all cases, there has to be a fiduciary for the estate. If you click on case number 1, it will list the order of the cases by the oldest case number first. So in other words, when was the estate opened? If you click on it a second time, it'll put it with the newest case first. See how the numbers changed all the way down? So now what you can do then is you can take this list and print it out and take that with you to the courthouse because not every courthouse has the files online. We happen to be lucky with New London. We walk right in and we just ask the ladies or men sitting there, hi, is it okay if we use your computer? Yes, they always say yes because it is public information. However, when we
where is the probate department? Is that down at City Hall?
Yes, you have to Google. It's not always attached to City Hall. It's usually right near it.
Okay.
Sometimes it's in the same building, but with East Lyme, it's in a separate building, but right on the same property. So you just Google it, get the address, and show up to the courthouse. Now, when we go to New London, it is online, so we sit at the computer. When we go to East Lyme, they physically have to pull the file for you. When you walk in, and if it is a place where they'll pull the file, 100% of the time they're going to ask you, what do you need these files for? And they usually will explain they're just curious. So we just tell them, oh, we're in a business where we help people with the financial problems of settling an estate. And we'll send out a letter and ask them if there's any way we can help them. And they usually accept that answer. They're fine with it. And it shouldn't be a problem. So we print this page out, and these are the case numbers you're going to look up when you get to the courthouse. But if you click on this person's file number, All right, that one didn't show it. Let's go back a case. Let's try Andrews. There is the fiduciary, Margie Henderson, okay? Now, you could easily send a letter to her and all the people in the A's, but here's the problem. You're wasting your time sending the letter directly right away without going to the courthouse, because nowhere on here does this tell you if there's property to be sold, okay? So you're just sending a letter, and it may be a child that passed away, and there is no estate. So once you get to the courthouse, now I can't show you on this website because they do not list the will. They don't list all of the documents associated with that case. So this is where you're going to have to take some notes, all right? What you want to do.
The good thing about this one is the fiduciary is out in California. So if they do have real estate in this estate, I'm guessing that Margie really doesn't want to be bothered with disposing of real estate over here in Connecticut. So exactly. I think that would be a one to go for.
And that's what happened to us on our very first case. The fiduciary lived in Massachusetts, so when she received our letter, she was more than happy to talk to us about taking the house off of her hands. And at the closing, sorry.
No, go ahead.
At the closing, she was so nice, we invited her to come back and see the house when we were done, because it happened to be a house she grew up in. It was her grandmother's house right now, but she spent a lot of time at that house, so she was more than happy to come see what we did to it. So you can make friends with it, too. All right, so now...
one more question. Sorry, sure. One more question, because you said you only want to go through open probates, but isn't it possible that the family has now completed the probate process, but now they still own that real estate and would want to sell it?
That's true. They could, but most of the time they want to just get rid of the property. So if it's a spouse and they're going to be living in it, then yeah, the case is closed and they've inherited the property, maybe because it wasn't entitled in their name and they had to probate it. But yeah, we have not gone after closed cases because most of the time the property was sold.
I see.
So it is a shot in the dark. You can do it, but we're only looking at open cases at this point.
Got it. Okay, great. Thanks. Go ahead.
So now this is when you want to take out your pen, because when you get to the courthouse and you find the file, be it online or in a physical folder, you want to go to PC, which stands for Probate Court. Down in the left-hand corner, right-hand corner, you'll see PC-440. That's PC-440, and that's going to be your inventory. That's the first document you want to look for because that will tell you if there's any property for sale. So if it's just showing a bank, sorry.
So I got lost there. So I'm going down. So I'm from this document here. Am I writing down the case number and when it was filed? Am I writing down anything right here?
No. Go back a page, and you're going to print this out. You're going to print out this whole
thing. I'm just going to print that out. Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay. But I did skip a step. I apologize. See all of the abbreviations here?
Yes.
When you go into the probate court, they will explain to you what each one means. We kind of just figured it out ourselves. So we know that the deed of trust, DET, is just a deed of trust. Descendant estate taxes, more likely they have a trust. So you're not going to be able to, even though it says living trust over here, this could be a trust too. So it's only for estate taxes only. You may not get any information from that. But give it a try because once in a blue moon, there will be a property in that.
Okay.
DAT, we never look at all. We completely bypass it. So when you see the type down here, there's a DAT right there. We'll bypass that because that means that the tax on the estate was less than $40,000, and there's usually nothing in the estate. They're either coming out of a nursing home, they just don't have any property. So the value of the estate is less than 40 grand, so chances are there's no property. And then DS right here means decedent estate as a legal representative. That means it's probably a child. So we don't look at that either. But some children may inherit a piece of property. You may want to look at it. It's entirely up to you. Once in a blue moon, we'll open it up and just see, was there anything there? That's usually a child. DW is will file only, and if they're only filing the will, you can't tell in that either if there's a piece of property, so there's no inventory to look at, so we skip that too. Okay? And DR is one of our best ones. It means it's a regular estate, and that's where we find 90% of our properties on the inventory list. On that 440 I listed, talked about earlier, the inventory. Okay. So
do you find that people are more motivated the older the case? So do you, because you were talking about sorting it, do you look at the old cases first?
We do. The newer cases, we still send them a letter in the new case, but I think you will have more, you're going to have to do a follow-up probably with the newer cases because they're still in the grieving process. They may not have moved forward very fast. They may think they have to empty the house and fix it up, and they just don't have the energy to do that right now. But that's the reason why you're calling or writing, because you'll just take care of all of that. So yeah, the older files are usually the better ones initially, but we still send a letter anyway. Okay?
Got it. Okay, good.
The next one you want to look at, so grab your pens, the next one you want to look at is a PC 201. That's called the Petition/Ancillary Probate of Will. That's where you're going to find the fiduciary's name. So it's a PC-201, Petition Ancillary Probate of Will. And what we do is we take our camera on our cell phone, instead of writing it down, we take a picture of it, and that's where the letter is going to go. Pretty simple.
Cool.
Cuts down on time instead of writing it all out. Okay?
But wouldn't you also find it here on the screen?
You find the fiduciary's name, but you don't know what's in the inventory.
Right. Okay. But okay, good. So, but you could find out.
Either way. You can do it either way. Take a picture of it on the screen. Like, what did we went to Andrews, right? Yeah.
Yep.
You can take a picture right there. But I don't bother because if there's nothing in the inventory, I don't want to waste my time taking a picture of it. So it's up to you.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
Another way to find the fiduciary is also on a PC 200. That's the Petition/Administration or Probate of Will. So I don't know the difference of why you would file a 201 over a 200. I have no idea. So I'm sure the court can explain that, but I don't really care. I'm just looking for the fiduciary. Also, you can find the fiduciary on PC-450, Fiduciary Probate Certificate. So there's a reason for all three of those, but you're just going to look for a 201, a 200, or a 450 to find the fiduciary's name and address. Okay?
Okay.
And I believe that's it. Once you get to the court, we ended up having in New London, sit down at a computer. You're not bothering them anymore, but they do have to train you on how to look up these cases and make sure you get the right file number you're looking for. So they want to see this case number and last name if you're just handing them a list. And chances are they only want to pull out 10 at a time. In our case, we told them we would fax the list to them because they're a small group and they're very busy. So we fax them the list ahead of time. They tell us what day would be a good day to come in, and they'll have the files ready for us. And then what we do, we buy them, sometimes we buy them coffee, or we get a bag of donuts, a box of donuts to say thank you. And they are so much nicer when you do that.
Good.
I think that's it. There's really nothing else. I think that's the end of it. Oh, and then I would like to pull up the letter we use.
Hang on one quick second. One more question. So you get a file, and there's going to be a bunch of documents in there. So how do you determine whether there's a piece of real estate in there?
Under the PC 450, it will have, that's the inventory. They have to legally file the inventory with the court. And that inventory, the very first paragraph, number 1, will ask for any real estate, real property. And the address will be right there. And the value of the property will be in the right-hand column under value. So it's
Gotcha.
usually estimates that they use. Sometimes they'll call a realtor. But, you know, who knows where they get the value from. We don't care about the value, just care about do they own real estate.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Perfect.
Now, this is the letter we use. I know, Linda, did you want to make a comment about it first before I pull it up?
Well, here's the thing. So, number one, the letter she's going to show comes from a course that Julie invested in, so that's one thing. Second thing is, we don't want everybody to have the same exact letter going out to people, so use some of your own words. But basically, this is, so go ahead and talk about, so I just wanted to say that comment, so go ahead.
Okay. The first paragraph is just offering your condolences in any format that you want. The second paragraph is saying that you understand they may have a piece of real estate for sale, and that maybe selling it isn't your priority right now, but you wanted to let them know that you're interested in purchasing it when they do want to sell. So you can word that paragraph any way you want. And the third one is talking about how you're a professional and that you don't need to worry about making any of the repairs. You'll do everything yourself, and you're willing to close very quickly and make this process as painless as possible. And then the last one is just saying, please call you at the number listed below. And also the most important is the PS at the bottom, telling them that you are not a real estate agent so that they don't have to pay any fees or commissions. And they love that part. They know that saves them thousands of dollars. And the part they also love is paragraph 3, where they do not have to make any repairs or improvements.
Yeah.
Okay?
Or even empty the house.
Right, exactly. Leave it as you buy it. You can use the phrase, I buy it as is, you know. So that is really a nice feature. And we list John's number. He has a nice way of making them feel non-threatened. He talks slow. I have a tendency to talk very fast and hyper, and I don't want to get them all worked up. So if I do take a call, I have to breathe, talk slower, and emulate their behavior on the other end. So if they are a fast talker, I have no problem talking fast, but I have to, you know, calm myself and just because I want to move on, get it done, but you can't do that when somebody's grieving.
Yeah,
okay?
So you were saying when people call you, you do ask about their relative and, you know, tell them about the person, and so and then sometimes they'll talk about that person, and then you can relate to them, and that makes that rapport that much stronger, correct?
Exactly, yeah. If it's, I've never had a child phone call, so because I don't usually solicit if it's a death of a child, but yeah, if it's a grandmother, an aunt, an uncle, I've lost a grandmother, grandfather, I've lost an uncle, so it's very easy for me to say, oh, you know, relate to them. I just ask them, tell me a little bit about them, and oh, that must have been great memories. You know, start the conversation that way so you're not totally ignoring the fact that they're hurting.
Mm-hmm. Have you found a certain sweet spot, like, you know, grandma dies today, how soon would you send out a letter?
I don't really have a specific time, but I would say probably a month to 2 months. No sooner, you know, any earlier than a month, they've just come off of the funeral and maybe trying to pay for the funeral and figure out where the banks are, and especially if they die without a will. So, yeah, I would say no sooner than at least a month.
It probably takes that long to fill out that paperwork anyway, right?
Yeah, once you finish with the funeral, then you've got to figure out how to pay for the funeral, so they have to get access to the bank accounts if they're not already joint on the account. Then they have to wait for the death certificate, and that takes about 2 weeks to get that from the funeral home. And then they've got to figure out where the probate court is and take time off of work. So, because they're only open from like 9 in the morning till sometimes 4:30. So, yeah, you've got at least a month's worth of work before you're really ready to do anything. Then they sometimes want to clean out the personal stuff, so there's no clothes and pictures and jewelry. So,
right.
Yeah.
And I think your job as an investor is to have compassion for the person, not try to rush them into doing anything. But I think I would do one visit to the house, but then have the other meetings outside of the house, so it's less emotions. You may have to measure that. But I know that sometimes, people are just not ready. It's the house that they grew up in, and they're just not ready yet to let that go. So if you can get people away from it, don't, avoid using the word home as much as possible. Obviously, you have to walk through the house to make an estimate, but, as soon as possible, start doing meetings away from the house so that it's more of a business transaction, and try to get them. And I think also to give them peace of mind. Hey, listen, I know this is a really sad situation, but I can help you resolve this. I can help you, pull the funds out of the property so that you can, have closure, move on with your house. I promise to treat your house with all due respect. That kind of thing. So it's a bit of a, and then some people don't care. Some people. It depends on, I would guess, how the person passed away. So if the person had been sick for a long time and everybody got used to it, that's not as emotional as when somebody just died suddenly, however they died suddenly, and it's a shock, and how are you going to deal with this, right? This brings up another situation. So if they're married and there's one person living still, do you still send a letter to them?
I do, because...
You do?
Yeah. Because now usually you obviously can look up the death certificate and find out how old they were. So if they're over the age of 65, chances are they don't want to deal with a house by themselves. So they're ready to move on to a condo or nursing home or move in with their children. So yeah, definitely we do.
Well, 70, is the new 50. So, but that's the point.
Exactly.
So you may, I'm just wondering if, because I know that happened to my family. My mother's still alive, and she doesn't want to move out of the house. So I don't know if she got any letters or not. I think my mother would have been totally offended, and why are you sending that to me? Blah, blah, blah. So do you get any of that kind of hate mail? Like, why are you calling me? No, you
not
haven't.
At all.
Okay.
Good. Not at all.
Okay, good.
No, we've been very lucky with that. The last case we worked on, the grandchild was living in the house. And so when we made the appointment with the daughter of the person who died, she told us, her niece was living there, but she would call her and she would let us in. So the niece was the grandchild was very receptive, and she explained to us why she wasn't going to buy the house, and just gave us some input on what had happened to the house over the years, how they had taken out one bedroom and extended it to make a larger kitchen, so it was now a 2-bedroom. And we converted it back to a 3rd bedroom. So yeah, it was kind of interesting hearing the history of the house. That was fun.
Yeah, and I think sometimes you're helping to solve a family's problems, because sometimes there is a younger person staying in the house and they're not taking care of the property, they're not paying the bills, and the family doesn't want to kick them out. And this happens a lot. The family doesn't want to be the bad guy fixing them out. So when they sell it to somebody that's not part of the family, that solves all those issues. So be on the lookout for that kind of a motivation.
Right.
So
exactly. Yeah. Oh, I forgot one point. See this number 31 we talked about? That's New London. The next 2 numbers is the year they passed away. So these were 2018, 2017, and see how it gets older and older. This
could be around that long? Wow.
Yeah. Yep, could be over. I don't know what this is. I would have to go in. The DR is to see. That's a regular state. So I don't know why the numbers look like that. To be honest with you, I would have to ask the probate people. But we don't usually go back past 2017. Because it just depends, Maybe this is still going on because, see, that's a regular state, so there could be property there. But also it's going on because people are fighting over the property. You'll see a document hearing sign-in sheet, and that tells you, oh, there was a problem with the estate, because that means they had to have a meeting to figure things out. So.
Does it also tell you how many inheritors there are? Like there's 13 kids? Or...
Yeah, definitely. It'll be on one of those numbers that I disclosed earlier, the PC, not the 440 because that's just strictly inventory, but it could be on one of the other probate certificates.
Okay, good. All right. Any other helpful hints you'd like to share?
I think that's it. Yeah. Oh,
beautiful.
Just don't do New London and East Lyme and Groton because those are our areas.
Yeah.
No, just kidding. I'm not going to tell you can't do it. Just having fun.
Yeah. Well, I think it's respectful. Don't like there's plenty of properties out there, so yeah.
Correct.
Try not to avoid everybody else on the planet on it.
Right.
So
exactly.
All
right, that's it. And,
all right, very good. Well, thanks so much, Julie.
That.
Thanks for doing this. I appreciate it, okay?
And our next podcast will be on foreclosures.
Yep, absolutely.
Good.
All right, very cool.
All right, have a great day, Linda. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.